Vars2 made a video called the top 10 best characters in Genshin Impact 2025. And I'm very curious what the top 10 characters are, because honestly, dude, whenever I see like a tier list of best characters, all I think about is Watch Mojo. Nothing can be worse.
Guys, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video.
Nothing can be
Around the same time
worse.
last year, I made a video on the 10 best characters in the game, and I felt like it was high time I updated now that we're a good ways into version 5.
I'm so
the game has been
curious.
slowing down in regards to new character releases at the tail end of
Because
version
top 10, I feel like, is hard to do now. There's so many fantastic characters in the game.
4. It sped up a good deal in version 5, resulting in 2024.
Hey, if I had to put my thoughts out there, I would say, listen, hear me out. I would say Mawika, honestly, Citlali, Furina, Neuvillette, Xilonen, Kazuha, Bennett, Arlecchino. Maybe I'll hide them still, but I doubt it. Nahida, yes. I don't know who I'd put as my 10th. Let's just watch and see.
2025 having some of the most influential characters in the metagame to date. With that in mind, it's time to update last year's video and bring you 2025's top 10 best characters.
Nice.
So far anyway. To reiterate, since it's been a year, the
That
angle
wasn't
I'm taking
in
with
order,
this
by the
video
way.
isn't strictly about which characters are the strongest or have the fastest abyss clears. I want to focus on units who contribute the most for all types of players, whether for free-to-play, pay-to-win, speedrunners, giga whales, and waifu enjoyers.
Oh,
The ones who
interesting.
perform best in the metagame have
about
an
husbando
obvious
enjoyers,
correlation to build value, so if you've been keeping up with the current state of affairs, I don't think you'll be surprised by my choices. But for those who are just starting out, or maybe you took a break and came back, here are my recommendations for characters that should be in everyone's account.
Okay,
As always,
sick.
just because I don't include a character in
By the way, I don't think any character in this video game is a must pull. There is no such thing as a must pull. You can clear the content just free to play, just pulling random characters. Like, it's easy.
This list doesn't mean they're bad.
It'll
or
just
shouldn't
take more
be sought
time.
after. These are just the 10 who, in my opinion, cover the most scenarios and are the most valuable for the general player.
Okay,
Got two
sweet.
honorable mentions alongside that, so without further ado, let's begin.
Honorable mentions,
First
huh?
honorable mention will be the newly added Pyro Archon Mavika.
She's an honorable mention!
I was inclined to put Mavika in the actual top 10 list, but I can't in good conscience do so on account of the myriad of caveats that accompany her, namely in how party restricted she is. At a base level though,
Wait, why is she party restricted? Oh, I guess she is. No, that's fair. That's fair. She works really, really good with Natlan characters.
she still
At
ranks among the
C0.
best characters in the game, hence
That's
why
fair.
she's deserving of an honorable mention. With the
Yeah, C6 she ain't.
right party, Mavika's DPS output, especially when applied in a front-loaded manner, is
Yeah, it's
hands
crazy.
down the best, and her sub-DPS and token buffing capability also handles a passing number of parties.
Yeah, it's
That being
wild.
said, party agnosticism is something I value very much in a video like
Arlecchino
this,
will take
and
her place
while
in the
over
top
time,
10 list
as more
for sure.
Nexal users come out, Mavika's unique property
Or
will turn
Diluc.
from a liability into a minor requisite at most. At the current moment though, it is enough to get in the way of her. All the same, you cannot underestimate Mavika's power level, and
True.
depending on your account situation, you're more than welcome to make an argument to put her in top 10.
For sure.
Second honorable mention is going to be Zhongli. Despite being far from a top meta performer, Zhongli still clears 95% of the roster in usage in Spiral Abyss for no reason other than comfort.
But you said it wasn't just going to be based on Spiral. Okay.
Everyone's aware he does no favors for you in DPS, even with the AoE Shred on Dominus Lapidus, nor does the Geo element do anything to assist reactions. But the key reason behind everyone spamming him in Spiral Abyss to this day is that he's the definition of stability. By having
He's
a
just a
shield up, you
tank.
can essentially ignore all enemy attacks and do your thing. Anytime you get staggered, or heaven forbid get killed,
Yeah.
that's technically a loss in DPS and uptime. Dodging
I think my whole Zhongli's outdated comment about 3 months ago aged fantastically, by the way. Just want to put that out there.
key attacks will eat up 1 or 2 seconds of a character's buff, which can add up. Having Zhongli's not optimal, but he's comfortable, and comfortability does still matter. If you're someone who wants to have an easy time playing
Especially
the
now
game,
with
he's without
Lanyan
question
and
the best at doing so.
Citlali.
But if you're focused on big PP damage, then I suppose you can skip him, hence why he's an honorable mention. Okay, now we're on to the actual top 10 list, and bear in mind, not in any particular order.
Yeah, Lanyan, a 4-star Animo Leo character, has a better shield than the 5-star Geo Archon of Leo.
First character is going to be Arlecchino.
Nice.
Hear me out. I already know 8 of you are writing in the comments why
Hear me out.
Arlecchino and not Mavika. Merely because the former is more consistent and can use more characters. The only condition Arlecchino realistically needs is a shield, and even then she doesn't particularly need one courtesy of her burst auto-healing her back to full in a pinch. Arlecchino's base damage and uptime are so enormously high that you can pair her with an exhaustive array of party members. You can use her in Vaporize teams, Melt teams, Overload teams, Monopyro teams. You can play her with 4-star characters, 5-star characters. She can deal big damage to bosses
Yeah.
and last through multiple waves. And
She's pretty damn good at everything, to be honest.
she's arguably the most forgiving DPS character in the game rotation-wise thanks to her ultimate being a reset button.
Rotation-wise, yes. HP wise, nah.
Arlecchino does so much and can fit in so much. So between her and Mavuika...
She can what? She can...
Reset button. Arlecchino does so much and can fit in so much.
She can fit in...
So between her and Mavuika, one's all about streamlined, consistent output and party flexibility, while the other has two parts, one being off-field application
True.
and the other being raw on-field damage.
True.
It's highly unlikely Arlecchino will get power crept even as more pyro units come out, because the only person who cares less about circumstance than her is Neuvillette. That's how free she is. I suppose having mentioned Neuvillette, we should include him here. Again.
Nice.
I'm so tired of this guy, to be honest. He's so...
I gotta keep it a buck, dude. Me too, a little bit.
Worst thing to happen to the game since Xiangling. I say that because Neuvillette is like that addiction you say you're
Since yeah, I was gonna say since Bennett, but Xiangling was after Bennett.
not addicted to, and that you can quit any time, but you don't. He was never known for having the highest DPS in the game, as other characters can definitely beat him out, but
Yeah,
Neuvillette is
easily.
the epitome of consistency and ease of use, meaning until Genshin power creeps to Kingdom Come, he'll forever be a staple presence on this list.
I agree.
By far the highest baseline across the roster in terms of damage, party flexibility, and AoE coverage. Several units like Chaska, Arlecchino, Molani, and Mavuika can dish out more against a single enemy, but Neuvillette is the king of AoE clearing. The classic spin to win will still more than clear out entire chambers in record time. That being said, he still puts up an incredible fight against bosses. I don't know what more I can say that hasn't already been said. Neuvillette's a busted character, far beyond the time he came out, which is a
Yeah, even at C0, dude. The thing is with me, I'm never gonna C6 another 5-star character, another limited 5-star character. Like I said, I dead ass would not have C6 Mavuika if I hadn't have made the stupid Twitter bet like a year before, 8 months before, whatever it was. Because C6 characters make the game boring for me at this point. Unless they're like a fun C6 that does interesting stuff, maybe like I don't know, a support that doesn't benefit the team that much and changes the way you play, I guess like Shenyun. But I still wouldn't. I think it's too much money for making the game more boring. I would rather... I'm going to make a video on this in the future. I think I'm going free-to-play. Or like, Welkin only, low spender only in the future.
insane to think about. The man was released in 2023. Normally, DPS characters face trouble standing the test of time compared to supports. Neuvillette is very much the exception. On the subject of characters that appear to never leave the meta whether we like it or not, let's talk Bennett. From day one, he's been in
Bennett's
contention
gotta
for
be on
one of
this
the
list.
best characters in the game owing to how mind-numbingly easy it is to get him to optimal performance and the sheer number of parties he can be used in. The
He could be used in quite literally almost any party, especially at C5, and then even more fun combos at C6.
community thought he finally reached an endpoint when Fontaine pushed more HP scaling units like Neuvillette and Furina, only for them to go full-on attack mode for the latter half of version 4 and all of version 5. From Arlecchino to Kanish to Chaska to Mavuika, there simply is no escape from Bennett. Not in a bad way, mind you. While the Power 5's equity has diminished over the years, they still do a bang-up job holding the fort by giving free-to-plays and new players endgame caliber units. You can't really beat a 1000 plus attack buff and huge healing.
True.
And if you see Bennett on here, you know exactly who's coming next.
Wait, you can say Sing Shaw? I get...
Enter the real pirate.
Oh, Xiangling, of course, of course.
Everyone was
Dude, how did we forget about fucking Xiangling when discussing that? No shot.
I think Xiangling would be ousted from her throne by Mavuika, but if you recall in my Why Everyone Plays episode on her, I mentioned that even if Mavuika is in the same line of work as her, the fact that Xiangling's a 4-star with access to arguably the best weapon type in the game, and no shortage of teams you can use her in, makes her a consummate favorite throughout Genshin's history. That statement holds true today. While significantly higher investment is required in terms of artifacts compared to her best friend, Xiangling offers a well-balanced combination of damage, area coverage, uptime, and application.
Yeah, she's
and with
great.
the pyro element witnessing a resurgence
Yeah, she's got new clothes now, too.
Xiangling gets to join the fun. Like Bennett, she's been a huge beneficiary of the recent DPS characters we got. An excellent companion for the new Burning and Virgin units, and
Dude,
she can ride alongside
especially
Molani
for...
and Arlecchino as well.
I was gonna say, especially for Molani and Kanish.
Pyro, that's for sure. We're not gonna see her disappear from the meta for a long time.
No.
The next character I want to go over is Furina. There used to be.
Furina is going to be a staple of this list, probably forever. I think she will always remain a top 10 character, probably top 5.
A fair bit of debate on who truly was the best Hydro support between the three.
She's so good.
But over time, Furina's extreme damage boosting capability and remarkable off-field Hydro DPS make her as powerful as she is versatile. We no longer have a shortage of healing supports who can stack up her fanfare, and at the risk of sounding like a broken record, the meta has been shifting more in favor of hybrid carry once again. Reaction teams are still good, and Furina can easily contribute to said teams, but she was truly blessed by the rise in personal DPS kit.
Bro, how crazy is it that we took a massive shift from Sumeru and Fontaine to go from Dendro reactions just dominating quite literally everything, and everybody complaining that Dendro was boring, like, because the game was boring, combat was boring because everything was just Hyper Bloom. Natlan comes out, releases absolute Chad hypercarry characters, and then everybody just uses freaking Natlan characters for everything now. Like, you either use Mualani or Kanich or Chaska or Mawika. Like, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Brand, Emily, Mualani, Kanish, Chaska, Mawika, 6 new DPS characters, of whose teams Furina is either best in slot in or a very practical choice at worst.
Yeah.
I would even say you can use her with Arlecchino in spite of the anti-synergy if you have Furina at Z2 for quicker stacking. But that's more of a whale strategy. Then when you also account for her being best in slot for Shell, Navia, Hutao, Neuvillette, Ayaka, deadass almost every team in the game, if I were to pick a definitive best character in Genshin Impact...
Wait, why Zhao? I don't play Zhao. Why Zhao?
Deadass almost every team in the game, if I were to pick a definitive best character in Genshin Impact, it would be Furina.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not a single character has come out since her release in late 2023 who can buff the party's DPS to the same extent as her. Xilonen comes close if we include artifacts, but up to 75% party-wide
HP decrease?
damage, 100% is C1, and then 124% is C3. It's gonna be a long while before the Hydro Archon gets power crept.
I agree.
A long while. Having mentioned Xilonen, let's go over her next. Another new addition to the top 10, Xilonen's also in contention for potentially the best character in the entire game. Though a Geo character, she was able to utilize Crystallizer's property of mixing with multiple elements.
You know, the thing is as well, it feels so quick to activate a thing, and it's just like AoE for the team instead of affecting things with like Swirl, for example. It's she's a really nice character, man.
Essentially become a second, more consistent version of Kazuha, who focuses on uptime and sustain over crowd control and elemental mastery.
Exactly.
Xilonen's advantage comes from the fact that unlike Virtus and Venerer and Kazuha's A4 passive, Skulls in the City and Xilonen Shred apply much more easily and for a longer time. Instead of having to manually swirl each element, Xilonen can activate her skill and every party member gets the respective element shredded onto the target. Cinder City buffs all elements pertaining to the reaction, making her a very consistent buffer for any Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, Electro, and Geo character. Offering a huge array of party-wide damage boosts and topping off the active character's health makes her one of the most powerful and role-consolidated supports in the game. So while she doesn't have the same pure offensive buffing capability as Furina, and she also just does no personal damage, Xilonen can cover more supportive bases.
No personal damage? Give her a weapon, man. Go, hey, use main DPS Xilonen.
The only thing really absent from her kit is that she doesn't buff Anima or Dendro teams, otherwise that could make her the best general support in the game. Additionally, with the meta progressing more into Natlan-based teams, she's gonna be even more relevant as time goes on. Easily the best thing to happen to Geo in a long time.
Yeah, 100%.
Next, let's go over Kazuha.
Well,
after 3 years, Kazuha...
The best thing to happen to every thing, honestly.
Now has to share a spot with Xilonen in regards to reaction buffing support, but in...
Yeah, I still disagree with the guy that said that Xilonen power crept Kazuha. I don't think she did. I think they do vastly different things, and they excel at different things. They both have great shred. Kazuha has AoE, Xilonen has heals. Kazuha has crowd control.
No way did he fall off from her inclusion. Quite the opposite, certain teams like Neuvillette can actually make use of both at the same time, simultaneously stacking their respective shreds and DPS buffs for extreme damage. Kazuha requires comparatively higher maintenance and execution than Xilonen, as he can only buff the elemental damage of whatever element gets swirled, and not for quite the same length as Xilonen. That being said, he's still relatively straightforward, and his grouping capability and personal damage cannot be understated. Remember, he builds elemental mastery, so when he swirls he actually does decent damage, and the periodic damage of his ultimate can contribute a bit as well.
God, he's so cool.
Party agnosticism remains as his greatest strength. He can be used in any team that interfaces with Animo, being the PHAC elements, and with him also being more reaction-centric than actual DPS boosting, elemental absorption enables him to double as an off-field duplicator too, which means more electro for taser teams, assistance for freeze applications, so on and so forth. He can
he's a much more reaction-based support.
Despite not interfacing with Dendro thanks to the aforementioned absorption. He can swirl Electro to then work into Hyper Bloom and aggravate
Nice bike.
Overall, I would say Kazuha has a higher ceiling and is more offense-oriented in general, while Xilonen's more consistent and easier to use.
I agree.
Until Animo gets another support like him, he'll forever be a stable presence in top 10. Moving on, we got another character who I'm sure no one is surprised to see, Nahida. To this day, Nahida
okay, I was about to say, I thought it was going to be Mualani. Mualani's great, but I don't think she's top 10.
Are the best off-field support for all your Dendro reaction needs, and though we've been sort of moving away from our dependence on her, seeing as neither Kanish nor Emily demand her as the best in slot, anytime Dendro is mentioned, so too is the Dendro Archon. Nahida's value stems from her ease of use and how much is given through that ease of use. By 360 no-scoping, she can tag multiple targets with Dendro and then make it so you only have to attack one target for everyone to get struck by her mark damage, subsequently reapplying Dendro onto them if you triggered a different reaction.
Oh man, I haven't used Nahida in a while, but she was pretty fun.
Further, making her a veritable off-field attacker. That alone would have made her a top-tier character, as Dendro application is everything for Dendro teams. But to add a cherry on top, Nahida increases the elemental mastery of the entire party, equal to a quarter of the highest DM party member on your team, which is usually her, as you want to have roughly 1k elemental mastery to get the full 250. On that note, if you invest into her C2, Nahida can even break enemy defense by 30% and cause bloom and burning reactions to have a chance to critically strike.
Nuts
she literally
for the
breaks the rules
huh?
of the game. There's not a single other Dendro unit who comes close to her in market value. The only person who can potentially be more useful than her depending on the team comp is Baitu, since he can also provide sustain, or Emily for very specific parties, but in most of the teams,
Emily has to be for burning.
Dendro character to use, it's Nahida. Case closed. Second to last character will actually be two, Xingqiu and Yelan. I know they're functionally different characters, but your reasons for using them are practically the same.
Okay, but then you could put Kazuha and Xilonen in the same one. No, you got to differentiate. I feel like Yelan is overall better, but Xingqiu's thing is that he's better at applying Hydro. Yelan is better in almost every single other way. Zajeff thinks Xingqiu is better. I think for most people, they're going to find Yelan better than Xingqiu. I feel like for the super endgame crackhead pushing out the most damage possible, then of course, yeah, Xingqiu is better just because of the fucking Hydro application.
I know they're functionally different characters, but your reasons for using them are practically the same. And I felt like it would have been redundant of me to include them separately.
And it can heal. Ain't nobody using Xingqiu to heal.
Follow-up is the name of the game. Xingqiu and Yelan have essentially two roles, either vaporize support for units like Arlecchino, Hutao stuff, or off-field application. The consensus is that Xingqiu's higher rate of application makes them better for reaction teams like Taser and Bloom, while Yelan is more for hypercarry support thanks to her Ascension passive raising the active character's damage. Historically, we've been using them together whenever applicable, as they can overlay Hydro on top.
Yeah, again, just the same as Kazuha and Xilonen, together, Xingqiu and Yelan are absolutely goated. Jesus Christ, it is insane.
Each other to make reverse vaporize the breeze. But in the past year, they found more usage without each other now that we've been getting more characters.
Can you rate my Hutao, please?
Xingqiu may no longer be in contention for the best Hydro character, with Furina convincingly taking the spot, but they're still definitely among the best in the game. Finally, we have Citlali, which will be my hot take of the
I
day.
knew she'd be up here, dude. Hey, people, I saw you be like, Citlali, well, her shield's like paper. Nah, she's still goated,
Well,
dude.
in the eyes of many, she's more of a niche character than a general purpose
She is
one. The range of
goated.
buffs provided by her cover a surprising range of teams. First and foremost, she's a shielder, always good to have. More importantly, she's a shielder who can also do meaningful personal damage by virtue of both her offense and defense, increasing with elemental mastery, naturally causing any reverse melts to do high damage. As well, she can buff the team to deal bonus pyro and hydro damage, which are the two most extensive elements in the game right now, party and roster size wise. Higher constellations can give her even more supportive and sub DPS capability, and being
I'm kind of surprised Chaska wasn't up here. I honestly feel like, obviously Xingqiu and Yelan are still very, very good. I'm surprised Chaska's not up here based on what this guy said in the beginning of the video, where he was like, it's not just about Spiral Abyss, it's not just about like having perfect team comps and stuff, it's about everything from like new players to having fun to like all the things that he said. I feel like Chaska is very easy to get the most out of. You know, she's good, but not that good. But she's like Zhongli then. She's so easy to get maximum value out of. That's the thing.
Night Soul user, she of course makes use of this Intercity artifact set, raising her value even higher. Compared to Zhongli, Citlali doesn't make her team invincible, but she makes up for it by doing more than just shielding, offering her own personal damage and more damage for your team.
Ken, what the fuck?
She's good enough to where you can use her in multiple high-performing teams, and there's a strong chance her market value will increase in the future as you get more Hydro and Pyro units, making her a sound investment. Her best pair is obviously with Mavuika, but you can also field her for any other Pyro on-field carries like Arlecchino or Chaska with a Pyro teammate. She can also pair with Neuvillette for the same reason you would Zhongli, and once again Chaska with a Hydro character. I'm essentially including her in this list for posterity's sake. I'm willing to bet folding money that she'll get better as time goes on.
Yeah, I think she will.
Alright, that concludes my list on the updated top 10 best characters video. Expectedly, we have a lot of supports, but a few new DPS characters made their way in too, which is awesome.
I think that was pretty accurate. Do you all think there was any characters missed?
I do still plan to make an updated top 5 DPS video soon. I think Genshin is on the cusp of power creeping in 2025 as we navigate the rest of version 5 and get into version 6. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen.
In the top 10 of the game?
For the time being, if you
Aloy,
enjoyed
true.
the video, I'd appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at FarceFarum. Join my
It's a great
Discord
video,
server.
man. Great video. I actually do think that was pretty damn accurate, all in all.